And here we are on the podcast with Spike or Pierre, aka Spike from Unagi. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for the invite. Super happy to be here and chat.
Yes, I'm excited. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. Unagi and Persona and now Hannah and all this. There's a lot going on. But before we jump into that, if you could kind of introduce yourself, not just what you do with Unagi, but maybe a little bit about your background as well before you found yourself in the Web3 world.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you'll see with my sweet accent, I'm a French guy. I've been working in video games actually before Web3 for 10 years at Ubisoft. I had the amazing opportunity to do a career as a game designer over there. I started as an intern on Far Cry 3. Then I spent 5 years on The Division, which was probably the longest production I've ever done, which was like a post-apocalyptic shooter in New York City. And also the first big success, I guess, I had in the chance to have in my life, let's say. And then after a couple of more years at Ubisoft, we decided to leap into Web3. We are actually before that, because we leaped into Web3 in 2021, but in 2017, it was the moment where Charlie, one of the co-founder, came to me and showed us the white paper for Ethereum. And I guess that's what kickstarted the Web3, the Web3 rabbit hole, where we became quite fascinated on what it would become, and we were super eager to actually start building potential apps using that technology. And it took 3 more years after that, but we finally took the leap in 2021 with Unagi.
Very cool. So how long were you at Ubisoft?
I was at Ubisoft 10 years. I have
10 years.
a
Wow.
little bunny, the crazy rabbits.
Uh-huh.
When you're 10 years at Ubisoft, they do that for 5 years, but I had like a gun type of like award after 5 years, and after 10 years you get a golden bunny basically. So I have a sweet golden bunny for my 10 years at Ubisoft on my in my room.
That's pretty cool. And you worked on some very small games that no one's ever heard of, like Far Cry and The Division. I mean, those are some mega titles. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's now we kind of covered the background a little bit. Let's kind of turn and talk about Unagi and Persona. So I'd like you to kind of give everyone the elevator pitch, if you would, for not just Unagi Studios but also Persona. But also, like, what is it? Who is it for? Why did you launch these things?
It's interesting because this elevator pitch changed over time. Initially, if you asked me a year ago, it would have been it's an avatar collection at the center of a gaming ecosystem. Today, the pitch, the post move, let's say, because we pivoted a lot. It's part of our identity to actually be quite perseverant, but also to explore and to pivot when we feel it's needed. Today, I would say that Persona is storytelling through innovations, basically. We try to craft products that revolutionize the way we build brands and storytelling through innovations, leveraging AI, leveraging blockchain, always with the purpose to build a brand, to build a universe, and to build something cohesive, but in a new kind of way, basically. If I had to say who is it for, because I love this question for Persona, I would say it's for explorers, basically. That would be the main type we are after, because that's how we are. We love exploring, we love taking risks. It's also why we pivoted a bunch in the last couple of years. For us, we're a startup in Web3. It's the best setup to actually try to create something fresh, try to create something new. I am a bit of a romantic, and that's what kickstarted my adventure in Web3, is that I love having a new tool and exploring what we can build with it. For me, that's the amazing thing about Web3, is that we have this new way to build applications. We have this new way to approach community building, to approach even how we finance a company. And that's absolutely amazing. And that's part of our identity, to remember that and to not take it for granted and not redo products that could be done elsewhere. Basically, if I were to do a normal game, I would have stayed at Ubisoft for the last 5 years. After yeah, I had a comfy job, so it would have been cool. But no, we are here to take risk. We're here to explore. We hope also to attract more explorers along the way. And yeah, we are here also to find out if there is an island of like out there with an amazing product that we didn't discover yet.
Very cool. And then I feel like a lot of what you just said is very specific to Persona. How would you describe, in a kind of a quick recap kind of a way, the difference between Persona and the overall umbrella of
Mhm.
Unagi?
So Unagi is the mother company, and initially it was not initially, it still is the mother company of Persona, and Persona was just supposed to be one brand within that company. So we had other games initially in Web3, but as things evolved, Persona actually became the main brand that we wanted to develop. And that's also part of like the current effort that we're doing, is that we are trying to clarify that now it's all about how can we build Persona up, of course, with different products that that can still vary very much. So, like we have an agent and we have so many things that we'll be able to discuss, but like it's not all about just one product. But now the idea is really to build Persona from the ground up. So we still have Unagi that is the mother company, and that's why also our token is called the Una, because it's the one of not just one project, but everything that we do. But yeah, Persona now is the main brand, and it became that way, in a natural fashion. We developed different things. Persona was the one that found the most success and the one that people resonated the most with. And we kept getting pushed to develop it more. Every time we were showing everything, it was the thing that was hooking people the most. It was also the thing that we were excited about the most in terms of values and of potential and so on. You always want a brand that can scale and can have as many applications as possible, especially in our position. And it's so cool to have an anime brand that resonates with so many demographics, so many audiences, because it puts us in an amazing position again, to explore and to build different things and potentially to touch anyone in the world. So yeah.
Yeah, I can speak from my own personal experience. Persona is the thing that y'all have done that jumped out to me. I was immediately captivated by the artwork and just the world building and all that stuff, which I do want to talk about all that. So I guess what you're saying is Unagi Studios was creating and have all these kind of brands and experiments and things you build under it. But with the success of Persona and the way it's kind of captured attention, that's just where you're pouring the effort right now. That doesn't mean that maybe one day you won't build some other brands under it again or something. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, completely. It's exactly that.
So with over a decade at Ubisoft, which there's so many people in the world of crypto and stuff, especially the world of like Web3 gaming, that have zero experience in the real world of gaming and stuff. That's pretty awesome. I'm just kind of curious, like, what were the things that you took from that decade there that you feel like have really well equipped you to be building what you're building right now?
You definitely acquire different skills, I would say, within a big company versus, of course, you start your startup. For me, what I learned was being an expert in a specific field. It might sound weird, but for me, it was a very good way to format myself and to kickstart my like professional adventure, because I started in a team of like 300 people working on a AAA for 5 6 years, and I was actually working on developing the NPCs of the game, so all the enemies that you were fighting. And there was actually a running gag because I misconfigured one line of like the starting enemies that you were fighting, and it was just looping in a row in the beta. And they were all making fun of that on Reddit, and like the entire company knew it was me. But it was really funny. But I was working on configuring them, their behaviors, and so on. But it was so niche in terms of expertise. I was designing the enemies. I was designing like it was still like a big scope, but in such a big game, right? So you learn how to coordinate yourself. You learn how to also elevate yourself to try to get other teams to be coordinated and to reach a result, which is insanely hard when you have that many people. But you learn a bit of politics and communication along the way doing all that. And you learn how to be an expert on a specific field, which is a skill that I think is very useful once you get into a startup, because then you will need to enlarge your skill set, and you will need to learn a ton. Like just this exercise that we're doing right now, right? Of course, I'm not the best at all at it, but it's something I had to learn. Like I never talked on a space. I never talked publicly at Ubisoft because I had other people to do it for me. But just this eager to learn and this structure in my mind to learn a specific field that is quite advanced and how you can master it and evolve in it is the main thing I learned at Ubisoft. Of course, a lot of notions about game designs, a lot of how you build a product. How you face, I would say, failures and success. Because I had a super weird career on my end. Because the first game I was an intern on was Far Cry 3. So, and I worked on it for like a year. And this game was like a massive critical success and massive commercial success. So I was like, oh yeah, this is easy. Then I worked on The Division, and The Division was like the fastest selling IP of all time when we released it. Like there was no other game in the history of video games the first week that sold as many copies as The Division. So at this stage in my career, I was like, video games is like freaking easy. But then I had other experiences, of course. Like at the end of Ubisoft, I worked on a mobile game that had like mixed reviews, and I worked on many other titles actually. So it was less of a 5 years big production. But then I finally had some ups and downs, and that's where I started realizing, oh, okay, that's actually really, really tough, because sometimes you can spend like 1, 2, 3 years of your life on one project, and it can amount to almost nothing if you have to kill the game right after, right? And in product development, being SaaS or whatever, I don't think there is an industry that is that hardcore. You know, a movie takes a year to do. Maybe you worked on a script for a long time, but like the production of it is maximum like half a year, with post production. But a game can be like 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And then if it's a massive failure, you're like, there it is. So yeah, you learn about that as well, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I forget, like AAA games and stuff, just how big of productions and how big the teams are for that type of stuff. But it is fascinating because just like the movie analogy you were just mentioning, like a big Marvel blockbuster or something, there might be a person who works for the better part of 6, 9, 12 months, and their only job is like making all the screens look like something on in the movie or whatever. And there's somebody who's doing, just these specific types of touch ups and stuff, and somebody who's just in the game building the, NPCs or the enemies or this that. And there might be multiple people. So that's pretty wild. So to contrast that, a 300 person team like you were working on previously, how big is your entire team now?
Right now we're about 15, but we had a lot of ups and downs as well. Depending on the amount of projects, we really tried to build the team in a flexible manner because, again, since we're exploring, it was quite important that we could kill a project quite quickly, that we could launch another one. So we do have like about 10 permanent contracts at the company, but the rest is freelances that go a bit on and on based on the needs. But right now, yeah, we're about 15 in total.
Very cool. And then I do want to very briefly cover Ultimate Champions. So
Yeah,
tell me a little bit about like what that was, and then kind of how that has been a pivot point for you.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a big part of our history in Web3 so far. When we started, we thought, okay, we saw Sorare, which was essentially this fantasy football game back then. It was super young still, and they didn't even raise any money back then. And we thought, oh, okay, it's pretty cool what they have, but we can do much better in terms of product. So we're a bit cocky and on some places. So we really thought like, okay, let's just take this guy that we know. We build a company. We'll be like 6 for a year. We know we can land with a product and probably compete with them. That part actually happened nicely. We did release the game and so on, but two things that we didn't expect happened. One, Sorare in parallel raised like 700 million.
Wow.
And it's very complicated to go against them when they raised so much money and you need to compete for licensing rights. That's the biggest issue we had. It's probably the main thing that decided a bit the face of the game, sadly, is that we went at negotiation tables on all the football clubs in Europe. And every time they were also competing, sometimes just to piss us off because they knew that we were trying to build like a competing product. Sometimes they didn't even want the license, like it felt that way at least. They didn't even want the license, but since they had so much money, they could still compete on the license just to raise the price and so on. So we did end up like overpaying a lot of our early licenses for the game, which was a crucial mistake in hindsight, of course. And second, we released the game maybe 2 weeks before the Luna crash of 2022. So amazing timing on that end. And yeah, so it meant that we started Unagi in 2021, like in June. We released the game in, I think, in April 2022, like really couple of weeks before the massive crash. So the market turned and everything became too complicated. And we did build also, a product that was not viable on the long run. So it's almost impossible, to be fair, to right now. I mean, it is possible, but it's very challenging to build a sustainable Web3 game, an economy that's sustainable, because you do want to sell like NFTs initially. For example, that's what we did in UC. But then you create expectations that you will have eternal benefits around it in the game. And that's not how an economy works, right? You need new source of revenue. You don't have an infinite pool of acquisition, especially on such a niche, which means that it becomes very difficult very early on. And I would say maybe a year after we released Ultimate Champions, we realized that this game is just never going to be profitable at this rate. So we did 2 pivots. I remember dark times that you make me walk through, Andy. Because the moment you realize that, oh, fuck, we spent so much money and, it's like a year and a half into your startup and you realize, okay, it's not going to work and you need to pivot, it's always a bit rough. But we made 2 pivots. One was to like test the most drastic changes we could in the product to turn things around. So that's what we did. We spent like a year, like full speed, trying to make updates after updates to make it sustainable and to try absolutely everything. Sadly, that didn't work in the end. And the other was to think of, okay, now we did our first game. We know in games that it's hard to have 100% success rate. We want to build now a larger gaming ecosystem. So let's build a collection that will federate around this ecosystem, and then we'll add products to that. And that's where a Persona can buy, basically.
Yep. So if Ultimate Champions was 2022, when did Persona first launch?
So we started in February 2024.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I think it's important. Like there's well, one, this is just a really cutthroat space. Like this is the Wild West. Still, we're getting more mainstream adoption. We're growing. We're evolving. We're becoming. We're not a toddler anymore, but we're certainly not an adult in terms of the crypto space. But most projects, they just don't make it, and that's just the sad reality. And so, on one hand, you can ding, you can look down on someone like you who had something that didn't quite work out the way you expected it to, and that you wrote that chapter off and you moved on. Or my view is, you can go, did that team give up and throw in the towel, and then that was just the end of the journey? Or like many successful startups, because YouTube was a dating website when it first launched. It's now the
True.
second, it's the biggest video platform on the planet. Or did the team, pivot and try to continue in this journey and try to make sense of this world and with all these different experiments? So I put a lot of value in teams that are able to successfully do that. I'm curious though. So from that experience, is there anything that directly tied from Ultimate Champions into Persona, like something you said, "Hey, we learned this big lesson," or "We really liked this," or we really didn't like that," and that's now kind of taking place in the world of Persona?
I would say mostly in the way we craft products in Web3. were a lot more realist and I would say cynical in a way. That's also why the nature of the products we craft now is either B2B or not relying on such um, I mean, it's different essentially. Like we try to have some products where we do feel that it can be sustainable and not overinvest from the get go. Actually, there was a big overlap because we still kept Ultimate Champions alive up until May of this year because we kept it alive as long as possible and we kept distributing rewards also in it as long as possible bah, to do the best we could for the community that was there. Even if in the last year we we were barely making anything because we stopped acquisition and it was in a sunset mode essentially. But we still had big licenses like Arsenal and so on that were running. So we figured, boom, let's run it another year. At least we do the best we can for the people that were there. That's also, I guess, part of. We try to play the good cop in a in a field that doesn't have that many, but well, we did our best there. Um, and there was a big overlap in terms of communities because we had a lot of Ultimate Champions people that were also part of Persona because they were all onboarded on Persona and had like some Persona initially. So we did some football jerseys in the collection, and we also tried to craft something that could work for them. But product-wise also, yeah, one big learning is we don't want to rely so heavily on building games in the field. It's our expertise. It's what we will keep building for sure on the long run. That's what I want to build in any case. But there is a very strong challenge that is hard to reconcile in Web3 is that in Web3, you do want to be able to ship products at a faster rate, basically. It's very hard to put all your eggs in one basket, build something for 2 years and have it fail. The market can change so fast that everything can evolve so fast that it's too complicated. So for us, we try to adopt now this mentality of, okay, let's build the foundation of the IP. Let's build smaller products, but that are perfectly aligned in our vision. And down the line, of course, it's all about storytelling, innovation, how we want to build Persona. Down the line, of course, a game will make sense when we can build it in great conditions, in a sustainable fashion, towards the Web2 crowd and so on, you know. But yeah, it definitely switched our optics a bit on that front.
Yeah, for sure. So let's change gears. Let's talk about Persona for a little bit here because that's my entry into your world. I started buying a couple of the NFTs, and then I dug in more and liked what I saw, and so I started buying more. And now I have a fair number of NFTs, and I'm pretty excited about that. Persona. I would describe some of the aesthetic and the feel of it is kind of nostalgic, or nostalgic. It's definitely, I feel anime driven. I mean, you go by Spike, and there's definitely some of these avatars that look a bit, like Spike Spiegel. So there's definitely some anime influence in there. And you have just under 9,000. It's 8,888. Is that correct? NFTs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So, all that said, I'm curious, like, why this aesthetic? Why choose this? Why that number of NFTs? And then, like, kind of art direction and that look and feel of it. How does that help you reach beyond the just normal, like, crypto Twitter sphere? Like, how do you
Yeah.
feel that that gives you something extra that maybe other projects don't have?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you the romantic answer. I'm a creative director after all,
Yeah.
but I'll also give you the more analytic answer on that one. On
Yep.
the romantic side, it's so cool because we always wanted to craft like innovative products and to the product of the future. And I saw that it was such a cool contrast to have this aesthetic that reminds you of a past time basically. And I love retro futuristic touch in everything I either watched when I was a kid or even now. So for me, it was the perfect blend to actually have that be the face and the graphic identity of everything that we would build. The second part is that if you go in my Paris apartment, you will see like 1,000 mangas, and I'm a massive nerd of retro animes of this time period. So it's also why it's for me, it's always a rule when I craft something is I need to be the biggest fan of it first. Like if I don't like it, and I've made that mistake in the past, like many times where I was like, I'm not a big fan, but they seem to like it or other people seem to like it. But if you're the one that needs to, sell it, craft it, and be on it like 24/7, you need to be in love with it. So that's how also where Persona came from. I wanted to love it more than I love anything in the world, and that's the case with it. So I couldn't be happier. On the more cynical, analytical side of things, uh, I, I also saw a gap. Basically, I also saw an opportunity when we were crafting Persona because you had some anime brands in Web3, but they were very modern aesthetic and they were very much in one end of the spectrum. So there was like a positioning that wasn't taken on the retro anime side. Also, in Web3, we deal with audiences that are a bit older compared to other brands that just have a name for like we're less of a TikTok generation. We're more of a 25 to 50 generation in Web3. So that was also quite interesting. And the last part is you have a crowd, you have communities that are in Europe, in the US, and in Asia, basically. So what aesthetic is also popular across those three? Anime is like an amazing fit for that. So yeah, it's for all those reasons we saw an opportunity. There was something I loved, and yeah, and also sometimes you just know, as soon as we did some base models or I did the first, very very first. Actually, I might be able to give it to you after. It's going to be fun for you to see it. I don't think I've ever shared it, but if you see the very first slides I did present it to the team in 2023 when I really just started thinking of Persona, you will see instantly that okay, that was it. It was already all that Persona stands for today, and every time I showed it to people, they were like, "Oh yeah, let's do that." So you just know sometimes it's if it hooks and relates to people. Yeah.
Very cool. So, all of Persona happens within the world of Timefall Valley. So, talk me through that a little bit, and then like talk me through how that world building, because think that's one of the big, kind of big features of what you're doing. Um, like how that has actual like user touch points, or like how people interact with that world beyond just the lore and aesthetic purely, for that sake. Like how do people actually engage in this world that you're building?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main medium that we use to showcase the universe and develop the main story of it and unfold also its mysteries is the manga that we're developing. Currently, we're in chapter 3, developing chapter 4. And we have essentially the entire main story laid out already of the manga since last November. So now it's mostly about producing it. And then I will want to discover and to showcase this world in different fashions. Short forms like with short anime trailers that we produced, even with some like AI when it's nicely polished with a human touch and so on, can also build up the universe and show more of it. Games in the long run is definitely a goal of mine as well to let people explore Timefall Valley in different ways. But yeah, it's an absolutely amazing little basis that we created with Timefall Valley. It's a closed off city where essentially only the personas like live there. It's kind of stuck in time, meaning that they live their lives on a day to day, but nothing ever changes for them, and they never question it. It's a bit like an aquarium or Truman Show type of setup, or a bit like the Matrix before he goes down the rabbit hole, where there is this weird state where on surface everybody's absolutely happy. It's a very warm world, and that's what you see with every brand element that we have out there. But there is a very dark lore and a very dark reason for all of that we uncover slowly. And the story and everything that we developed and everything that we ever develop is always around the theme of nostalgia, basically. So the main story, the main theme of the story is nostalgia, and it's something that you will find in our branding, in our short form assets, on Instagram, Twitter, and so on. It's this contemplative, longing type of feeling that okay, I'm missing something, maybe in my life, maybe in a past memory. It's a lot about memories, a lot about nostalgia, and the story is very much about that. And I honestly, well, I'll give you maybe the narrative deck as well. I don't know if we gave it to you, Andy, but it would be super cool for you to see the slides on the lore. But it's an amazing. It has an amazing potential for a lot of side stories, for a lot of expansions, for a lot of products scaling. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, some of the ways you describe it, this, almost idyllic little, town cut off from everything, but there's something else lurking there. I don't know. Have you ever seen the movie Pleasantville?
Ah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it reminds me a bit about of that idea.
yeah.
So okay, a couple different questions here. One, Persona itself, does it currently make money, and or how? What are there future plans for how Persona will bring in revenue, or is that just like
Mhm.
things like Hannah? Walk me through that.
So we do have fees that are a possibility with Persona. Of course, right now NFT volume is quite low across the board, but we have the possibility to block blur and to essentially activate the fees for the collection. It's something that we will do if if we see a bigger volume coming back. Of course, we had the chance to have a very hype mint, which created a big treasury for us. I think in total, at the time of the mint, we did like around 5 million, which of course gave us a good runway to try to achieve all that vision. But on top of that, yeah, we have this desire to create new products that will also be revenue generating. Every time we create a product, it's either a very strong value accrual to an existing asset or by itself a revenue generating product. We had, for example, Ana Studios that we released in June that didn't do a massive volume, but it was like a pure profitable product that created a bit of cash for the company, which was really cool. On top of that, we have fees on the different assets. We released Ana as well that has our own token. This is very secondary, but with virtuals, it was kind of cool because it still created a bit of fees. Um, and yeah, we also had still revenue from Ultimate Champions, despite the fact that it wasn't profitable up until May. And now, of course, the goal is to add more products that can generate revenue. It's an interesting topic, revenues, because I do feel that in Web3, since you have assets that people can back up, actually doing some efforts that are almost like production as a gift. It's gonna sound weird what I'm about to say, but just IP expansion, for example, focusing on growth on your Instagram, on your Giphy, on all of that, even if it doesn't generate revenue directly, the fact that it's growing the IP, first, it's a revenue potential on the long term, which is really cool because you convert more people to your brand, but also it adds confidence to people to your brand in Web3, but not only in Web3, and people can convert towards your asset. So it's also part of a potential strategy when you where you on what you prioritize. Basically, sometimes we prioritize stuff where we're like, it's not going to generate revenue by itself, but it's really great for the growth of the brand, and we want to do it. The manga is one of those. To be fair, the manga, we don't have a publishing deal yet. I hope we have one day, but we need a few more chapters. But it's still an amazing medium, in my opinion, to really cement the lore, to cement the brand, to cement the narrative that we want to build. And I'm 100% sure that on the long run, it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, I'm really glad you just said that last thing because as you were talking, that was just an idea I had in my head I wanted to ask you about. I'm sure I assumed you had already thought about it, but being in the world of manga, like there's maybe an entire other audience out there that has no introduction to Web3 or crypto or whatever, but is always interested in what's new out there in the world of manga and stories and things like that. How serious is that pursuit of chasing after those people and like publishing this as an actual manga you
Mhm.
print it out and you can go find on a store shelf and stuff like that? Talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's very serious, but we need to have a bit more produced. Basically, it's very hard with so few chapters to go for a publishing deal. In France, we are very lucky because it's like one of the only European country where you do have some manga publishing like in house or in country, which is really cool. We have Ankama and we have a lot of publishing houses that we could potentially do something with. But we do know that we want a bit more ammunition before we aim for that, and we go for that big outreach. But it's absolutely a goal of ours. We refined the story for like 9 months, and we are like still in production on the chapters. So definitely we want to gun for it a bit later on.
Very cool. Yeah, I feel like that's, that's something that's really interesting, would definitely make you stand out. And that's something that a lot of crypto, stuff in the crypto world does not have, something tangible, something you can actually touch. And that's a really like unique thing that you could actually have that people could hold in their hands. That'd be pretty cool. I want to change gears here, and I'll talk about Hannah for a little bit. So, give me the elevator pitch, or the kind of the quick overview of what is Hannah.
Absolutely. So Anna is the main character of the story, initially of Persona. And we brought her to life with an agent framework that we created in house that is also called the main character agent. And this main character agent essentially brings to life one of your fictional character and will help you to build the brand alongside you, basically. So we like to put it, in a big branding term as a new paradigm in brand building, where before you had your typical founder funnel, like typically what I'm doing with Spike on Twitter, where I'm putting a lot of like personal content, sharing a lot my vision, and trying to federate around persona and around also more personal touch. And we found that with Hannah, like creating her bit by bit in the last 7 months and creating a framework, that it was actually a huge help to have an agent that was handling like this 24/7 type of presence for your brand. So right now she's an orchestrator of different sub agents that have very clear responsibilities in the brand building. One is a community manager, one is a content creator, like she creates a lot of content around the persona brand. One is social media manager. She's the one handling like all the posting on Instagram, Giphy, Twitter. Um, we started TikTok recently, but it's a bit it's not great yet. But we started TikTok recently as well. And more recently, we added two more sub agents. One is a data analyst, so it's actually really cool. Like every morning, she does like a big recap on all our KPIs, on all our assets, on what happened with Persona, the UNA token, and everything. Uh, and also online, and then she reports back to the team saying like all of that happened like yesterday. And on top of that, based on what happened, she makes suggestion to the social media manager or sub agent to post a new post commenting what happened. So it's really cool. Community manager as well. She's in the Discord 24/7, on the website, on Twitter, and she has the entire knowledge base of the project. So she really answers absolutely, again, 24/7 on all that. And just for the anecdote, I shouldn't be saying that too much, but I'll say it. We did drop from a team of 12 people in marketing to like 3 plus, of course, founders and whatnot. But we never had that much growth since then, basically. So we added an agent and we worked a lot on that, but it's been quite vertical, the growth on the different socials so far. So yeah, super happy about that. And this main character framework is the next thing we're actually releasing. I will be able to also give you the website if you want to browse. You will have like everything, a nice overview of what I just mentioned. It's the next thing we're releasing, and we started doing outreach to different brands to know if they want us to build their own character agent. So we proposed three like premium bundles basically, and they can hire Unagi services, if you will, to put online one of their own.
Very cool. I like the name, the main character framework. That means that Hannah has that main character energy
Fun,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
I like it. And yeah, it's funny. I think I've already told you this, but my first exposure, I must have missed like coming. I'm in so many discords and stuff, so it's hard for me to stay on top of everything all the time.
Yeah,
But I must have missed when Hannah was first announced. But my first interaction with Hannah was just getting replies from her
yeah.
on Twitter. I was like, "What is this?" And I clicked and I saw, "Oh, this is from Persona, from Unagi, and all those guys." So,
It's really cool.
uh, yeah, that works. Like that was an
Yeah.
actual introduction and an actual touch point, which is pretty cool. So you started touching on this a little bit, but uh, like there's so many AI agents out there, and I don't know how many of 80% of them are vaporware. Like they're great ideas, but when they're for when the rubber meets the road, you have to have something that people are, I guess, willing to use or willing to pay for.
Yeah.
And so you talked about this a little bit already, but expand on that. Like, what are the things that Hannah can do, maybe for other companies, but also for like just regular people who are gonna interact with her that they're willing, that you think is going to be willing to pay for?
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. And the first wave of Web3 agents we had like last November did hurt a lot because it was so empty of concrete products or concrete anything. It reminded me of like ICOs in 2017, where you had like 90% of them were were like really just complete smokehouse. But it was the same in last November, where they started releasing agents left and right, but in the end there was nothing live almost, and maybe two use cases that were valid out of all of them. So for us, we had a different approach. We, instead of like structuring this framework and trying to sell it and then building it, which is really the Web3 approach, we actually build it progressively over like 6 months. And then we decided to release the framework when we felt that we had a concrete like proof of concept to show to people. And that's what I like, is that right now you can book a demo on the website that we're releasing for the main character. And when we show to other brands, like, look at all this on our internal tools, on our Slack, because we have a lot of controls and reporting of the agent on Slack, on Twitter, on Instagram, and everywhere. We have this proof of concept that really shows like, okay, it's concrete. There is something here, and we show the impressions. We show absolutely everything. We show everything that it does, and I would say it's easy once you have that. It's a lot easier to sell something where you're like, but yeah, here it is. It's times. Now we're less in marketing, but that kind of proves the point. So yeah, that's the approach we took. And honestly, at first in February, when we released the HANA for the first time, it was really bad. It was really, really bad. Her initial state, like she was not doing great content. The replies were really poor. Like everything was like was mid. But we did want to do it that way to actually improve as we went, to gather more user feedback, to see also what the community, what they expected from her, and that allowed us to reach a point today that is a lot better. The downside of that, and it's the cynical part of Web3, but it's also the world we live in, is that if we waited and we did a bigger launch with a bigger promise, typically the token of HANA specifically could have been valuated a lot more, especially if we launched her at a more strategic time, because we launched her in February when the hype was it was just not even a topic anymore. But in the end, we're happy about the approach for two reasons. First, it enabled us to create that proof of concept progressively. And second, her token was never an objective for us, because for us, it's the UNA token that is the ecosystem token that we're thinking of, that we're trying to build things around. The HANA token, it's not a topic. It's her token. It's cool. There is a supply, a little speculation around, and it enables her to actually reward people from the community. So that's cool. But we make, and I want to be transparent to anyone that watches the video, we make zero effort to do value accrual there. The only value accrual that happens naturally is that since she gains a lot of traction on socials, it's actually linked back in the different agent platforms to her token, because you can see that she has quite a high mind share compared to other agents, basically. So that in itself continuously brings new people buying HANA and so on without us doing much effort, which is cool.
Yeah. Very cool. And I know that, and maybe this figure has changed, but I know the last time we talked, um, you or Captain Scarlet has said that since Hannah was launched, the impressions increased by like 400%. Is that still accurate? And like, what caused that? Like, what is that? Just from the social replies? Is that a few other things in the mix?
Sorry, come again? Since HANA launched, what was it
The
again?
impressions jumped up by
Yeah.
400%.
I mean, even infinitely, because on I think on Giphy, we are doing like 1 million plus a day on our GIFs, and we had 0 before because we never like went there. So yeah, it's on Twitter, it raised a lot on our own account, of course. On Instagram, it was massive as well. Instagram, to be fair, we lacked a good content strategy before in Instagram, which for a brand like us was a kind of a critical miss because a lot of our potential audience can be brought from Instagram because it's really a little bit old. Like on TikTok, it's very hard for us because with the retro anime aesthetic, you don't have a lot of TikTok accounts that like perform that well. It's a lot of modern animes, like with a lot of very aggressive editing and voiceovers and whatnot. So on TikTok, we have to find our footing. But on Instagram, like it resonates so much our personal aesthetic that we know we can like bring a lot of people from there. And in a similar fashion, before we launched Hana, we we barely had nothing over there. Now we do. I think in the last month we did almost 3 million views on Instagram, and it keeps rising, so that's cool as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the Giphy one is the one that surprised me when y'all told me about that because I hadn't even considered that. So, what's happening there? Hannah's creating GIFs and uploading them there, and do they have any kind of watermarks or lead back? Like, how does that whole thing work?
Honestly, we're being a bit smart, but a bit pirates over there because what we do is every morning we take the 30 highest trending GIFs on Giphy right for the day for the last 24 hours. And then we spin them with Hana aesthetic as a chibi and regenerating like first an image and then a video out of it. Then on top of that, we identified like maybe 100 accounts where we're like, okay, their content is like really cool just in terms of memes, reactions, all that. And instead of us recreating everything, what we do is we created a data set out of all those accounts of what they built. And now we also generate like 50% of our GIFs daily are generated through that. And we keep adding a new source, but it's fully automated. And what works really well on Giphy, it's super weird, but compared to other socials, it's not really a social media, I guess, but it's really to have a high volume. And we understood that looking at Pudgy Penguin and others, but you need to like try to like to put 20 per day out there, and maybe out of those 20, you will have one that will do like 100k view, 200k view, 1 million views, and then you analyze. We analyze like every week, like okay, which one performed the best, and we reduce the agent on some, and then we calibrate that way.
Wow, that's wild stuff. I love it. Um, one thing I want to do here is kind of clarify. You've kind of explained both in their own little silos, but let's bring them together and clarify. Una token versus Hana token. Like as a newcomer, if there's both of these things have the tokens like Y2 tokens, and then how do you avoid like either one cannibalizing the other one?
Yeah. Um, I, I guess the main thing is for the HANA, we don't consider it as necessarily the big ecosystem token. It's HANA's token, and we don't do any effort. So that puts it a bit out of the race. But for all the reasons we mentioned, if people still want to purchase some, do it. The cool part, which is to know, is that we do have fees from HANA, and we do some revenue accrual towards the HUNA from it, basically. So that's also a way to clarify the parent-children relationship there. Is that if we do generate a lot of money through the HANA, it will be for the UNA. And the UNA, but the idea really is to, every time we do a product, every time we do something, we put it on the premium spot. So to give you a few examples, before we had Ultimate Champions, so the UNA was like the main currency of the game. So the main currency you were like spending in game. Then we did HANA Studios. There, I really love the formula we did, and I think it's a formula we'll probably do a lot more in the future. We had a lot of tokens supported as payment methods, but if you were using the UNA, you had like a massive discount versus others, which I really liked because it doesn't break the accessibility of your platform, of your service, but at the same time, it clearly values your token a lot more, right? And then we have we have a future plan, a future concept where the UNA is not it's not even at its core. It's like really powering it all. Um, Yeah, I don't know when this interview might be released actually. 'Cause I don't know how much we can say about this concept.
It'd probably
But
be
yeah,
in a week or 2 or so.
that might be a bit too soon
Yep.
for now, but it's in production, and I can still discuss it a bit more with you on the side. But it's going to be a product where the Una will take a new dimension and will really be at the center. So really the value accrual of it. And for us, it's also a way to have a consistent and logical ecosystem, because since we have staking for Persona holders, so if you own Persona NFTs, you can stake them on our platform and gain UNA tokens passively. Since we have that, it facilitates our job, because now the only thing we have to do is to value the UNA basically. So we don't try to necessarily go out of our way, except for branding reasons, because Persona and the avatars are like they are linked from the get go. But we don't try to go out of our way to give financial benefits to Persona NFTs in our products. But what we do is we do that for the UNA as the prime concept, and that way, for your personas, you will also get your share of it through the staking.
Yep. So, give me a bottom line for both tokens. If why would somebody want to buy Una tokens or buy Hana tokens other than, "I buy it, I hope it goes up in price, I hope I make some money." Why would you buy either one?
Well, I'll start with the easiest one. I'll start with the Hana, of course. Um, It could just be because you like her as a character and you like her reach, you like her content. For me, it's like kind of an influencer token. So if you want to buy it for that reason and you believe that her reach can increase and go to new heights, despite knowing that the team will not do value accrual towards it, then go ahead and do it. That's all yours. It's almost like a meme coin in a way. The Una token is it's the ecosystem token of our mother company. It's the one that is at the center of it. It's the one where we will always, when we design a product, design it with the Una in mind. Meaning that if you believe in the products that we are going to build, if you follow the vision and you relate to it, it's the best type of asset you can own to bet on. I mean, Persona is also great with the staking because you also get Una, but you get the picture.
Yes, that's one of the things I loved about, Persona NFTs, because I like the crypto passive income. I've got all my NFTs staked, and each month I check, and there's more Una there waiting for me, which is pretty exciting. And, that is exciting, but, with staking your NFTs and earning Una, people are getting paid in this, and so, like, how do you prevent that from becoming, like, an economic sink? Or, like, how do you balance those emissions so this doesn't become, like, a soft Ponzi scheme or something like that? How do you kinda support that and create and stop it from collapsing, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, we do have one way to balance the Una is to correctly put enough effort so that it's valued despite it being distributed passively, I think. But we come from a place where we were distributing so much of it with the fantasy games before, like really a lot as rewards in it, that compared to that, what we distribute in staking is very, very low, and we know that we can absorb it. So it's a balance act to have for sure. If you use your token for rewards, you need to create an equal demand to make sure that it can still appreciate in time. So I would say the only answer I have for that is to actually create demand and to craft products that will put it in a good light. It's also a lot about communication. We know it in Web3. It's we have tokens at 7 billion valuation that that barely have any concrete use cases. We know that, and it's also part of our Web3, I would say, adventure, is that now we are a bit better at handling both. We know that if we do only the product and we stay in our cavern for 3 months, even if we build the best product ever, if we don't play the attention game correctly, if we don't create waves, if we don't clarify our vision and why the Una is like nice in it, we know it's not going to work. So now it's a mix of, okay, let's craft great products, but also have like a very good communication strategy around it to make it shine. And I think honestly, well, it's a shame I cannot spoil it more in this one, but I think the next product we have is absolutely amazing for that. It has an amazing narrative. It's really going to resonate with the space. For the UNA, it's going to be a no-brainer. So there won't be a why is your token interesting or not. I won't even have to explain it, I think. So yeah, very pumped about that. And but yeah, we'll rediscuss those details when we're closer to the release of this one.
Yes, very good. And then another thing that I know that is coming that might add to all this is the double staking. And can you explain kind of what that is and how that works?
Yeah, so for now, it's more of an allocation than a concrete feature because we announced it when we launched Persona and the UNA 3 months after. And we wanted two allocations, one just single staking while we were designing something that had a stronger, like, stronger structure, let's say. The idea was just to evolve a bit what Bored Ape did with the ApeCon back then. Yeah, so they had this cool thing where you would stake some of your tokens plus the NFT to maximize your passive income. We wanted to do that because we thought, okay, that's cool to also value the UNA despite giving some UNA as rewards. As things moved forward, we actually the single staking allocation, we didn't deplete it as fast as we thought, just because it requires people to actively stake them, and you have so many personas in blur pools, plus people that don't stake, plus this and that, or people that like swap and so on their persona. That in the end we didn't deplete the single staking allocation as fast as we thought. And now we are seeing it will be an allocation that will go back to Persona holders and UNA holders. That's still the promise we had, but we do want to design it in a meaningful way. So maybe as part of a product, or maybe for a new season for Persona. Because little teaser, we also okay, that's a little spoiler, but we also worked on a visual update for Persona for like in the background for the last like 9 months, just improving a bit some avatars that had some traits that we thought could be a bit improved, and so on and so on. So I did have this idea of okay, let's do a new season for the Persona platform at some point where we release the double staking plus the new fresh and feel of the collection. So that's a possibility that we do that, but we need to find the time and make sure that we're not on another project that excites us more, basically.
Very cool. And then kind of here at the end of the podcast, I want to just kind of look, as we record this, it's mid-September. We're inching our way towards the end of 2025. And I have no idea what's going to happen for the rest of this year with the world of crypto. Is it going to be a normal 4-year cycle? Or are we going in the first 5-year cycle ever? Will it be 2026 before everything takes off? But just kind of, I want to know where your mind is right now, and where Unagi and Persona is like. What are the big goals, the big things you want to see checked off before the end of the year, or things like that? And then what about the next 5? Go much bigger and broader than that.
Yeah. For the space as a whole, I mean, I do want to see NFTs come back. It's part of it's part of what I hope happens in the next couple of months. I hope that we will play a strong role into that as well. Um, just because I think it's such a cool use case for blockchain, for personal branding and how you can build an IP and so on. I'm a big believer that it's a cool concept, but right now it's no one wants NFTs at all. So I do hope we'll have a cycle there. For the market as a whole, I'm less of a micro specialist, I must say. Every time I think something, the opposite happens. So just do the opposite of what I think. Now I just follow Jesse, and Jesse seems to get it right. So I'm like, okay, bon, bah, I'll just follow. I'll just follow what he says. But yeah, we didn't have such a bad time in the bear market as well. We launched Persona in 2024. It was not a great market, and we still managed to make massive waves and raise like a big amount of funds. So I think now that it's going to be like it's a couple of cycles that we've seen already, and especially for us, like the founders, because we had crypto in 2017, we lost it all. Like we've been through it many times, so we're a bit more experienced and less impacted by markets, I would say. And I think you have to, because otherwise, I think we discussed that already the last time, but we are in this open space of Binance at Station F, this big incubator, and everybody around us like watches charts like all day long. And of course, you need to be aware of the market, like 100%. But at the same time, you can't do that all day, you know. So for us, it's one way. It's one way that we try to be vigilant, be aware of what the market is heading, take great decisions like based on it, but also not be overly focused on it and dependent on it. We want to build great products, wherever the market goes. If we go back to a bear market, like I'm confident we're still full enough to be part of the few that survive again and see another cycle. So yeah.
Yeah. And then, like, zoom out and look forward, 1 to 3, 1 to 5 years, something like that. What are a few of the things that you really wanna see happen with what you're doing? Is it that there is a physical manga? Is it other big things? Like, what is something you wanna see, and it'd be a great milestone to say, "We did it. We were successful."
So like a manga, 100%. I think just telling our story will be like a big major step, because I think if we do manage to do it in a nice way, it will be the strongest thing we'll ever have as a brand and as a company, as an ecosystem, because it's so easy for people to fall in love with brands if they have like a story and characters they relate to. So yeah, absolutely, the manga would be a big one. Um, I would love for us to leave a mark in the space. It's more of a personal vision I always had, and something I'm trying to push in our products and everything. But I would love for us to have made a meaningful contribution to the space, pushing it in a good direction. Not just being there in this speculative bubble, but also bringing a stone that other projects that pushes Web3 as a whole, basically. And that's what we're trying to push modestly for now. But in 5 years, if you ask me, like, okay, what's the main thing you want to see happen? I want us to succeed to bring such stone to stone. Maybe stone is not the right word for it, but I want to bring something to the table like that will make an impact. It could be the main character framework, and that really helps brand being built in a new way. It could be this next project that we think can have a massive impact on the NFT space. But really, anything for me is it's about innovating and trying to find this place that was never explored before. If I also find one that no one likes, I'm fine with it. I'm a bit of a crazy guy like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be commercially successful on all fronts. But I do believe that Web3 is so cool for that, because it rewards explorations, it rewards taking risk, it rewards people saying, okay, let's explore a bit there. We are not yet sure about the business model, but you will have people that might believe in you, that might believe in your vision, will back you up, and eventually it will become something beautiful. So yeah, in 5 years, if we manage to do a meaningful contribution to the space, having person on top with our story told, I would be the happiest.
I love it. Well, I'm rooting for you. I'm supporting what you're building.
Awesome.
I'm excited to be chatting with y'all and kind of seeing this all unfold, and I am quite hopeful and excited to see how people get attracted to what you're doing and resonate with what you're building. Especially if we can get this bull run underway that we're all hoping for, and see what that does for you. So, with all that said, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me here on the podcast. Much appreciated. And thank you to all of you for listening in, and I will see you in the next episode.